Hey everyone. For this episode of the Moonlighters Club, we got sex positive. I interviewed Taja Ricketts of Satin Kiss, and this is a pretty interesting conversation. Um, I learned a lot during this. We talked about her business, Satin Kiss, what they provide, the way people view sex in our community, outside of our community, and it was cool. I will get weird about halfway in, just because I'm a child, but it was great. It was a great interview. Great to hear how Taja went from work to her own venture, and the work aspect of it is it gets pretty heavy. Just talking about stress, how we deal with it, what we accept, what we're not okay with, and how to deal with that in the workplace. So this will be a good conversation to listen to for a couple of reasons. One, just hearing about how Taja dealt with stress at work, why she decided to change her life and where she focused her time. And then also just the concept of her business and what it affects how we view sex in our community. And by our community, I mean the Black community. What we go through, what we are okay with, and what we are not okay with, and why. So this was another one I like to call From the Closet series, where I was bundled up into a very tight space to get the best sound quality. I used Zencaster for this one, as well as the interview with Jacob Roundy and a few others. I like Zencaster. Actually, I highly recommend it for remote interviews. The thing is, though, if you use it, I would suggest using audio only, not video, just because video on the internet is just not really there yet in terms of recording and getting the best quality. So I digress. Anyway, great interview, great guest. I hope you enjoy it. As always, thank you for listening.
I don't moonlight as a rapper. My jersey up too high in the rafters. I got a front teeth, new life and attractive. Still sipping that moonshine and I'm plastered.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Moonlighters Club. I am your host, Joel Edwards. I am a full-time employee slash guy who is trying to get out on his own. And all of my inspiration for doing that comes from the people that I get to interview on this show. I want to be like them. So whenever I get lazy or whenever I start downing myself or just being pitiful and pathetic, I listen to one of these episodes. I'm like, all right, let's hit it. So another guest. I'm really excited about this guest because I did a showcase last year. Actually, was it? No, it was
Mhm.
2019. And it was at the Boston Public Library. It's the last time I did anything public for the Moonlighters Club. And my guest was there and told me what your business was. And the reason why I'm so excited about this is I love just seeing people continue to do what they do. And I was just on Instagram and I'm like, oh snap, this Sarah, she's doing the business, she's doing interviews, she's doing podcasts. Oh, this is cool. So I actually took a hiatus last year because I had moved. And now I'm like back in the swing of things. So everyone, I want to introduce you to Taja Ricketts. Did I pronounce that correct? All right, cool. Taja, thank you for doing this. Thank you so much. One, we definitely need more women on the show. Always happy to have black women on the show too, because I think it's great. Thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
for having me.
Of course. So we met in the Boston area. Are you from the Boston
I
area?
am, yes, born and raised. Mainly like Dorchester, Roxbury.
Nice. Where'd you go to high school?
John D. O'Brien.
I went to Boston Latin
See?
Academy.
Yeah. Okay, exam school kids. Overachieving.
Uh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So, when did you go to college? And if you did, was it Boston area still?
Yes. So it's funny because I chickened out. Initially I wanted to go to Atlanta for college, and the Taja now would have been like, "Oh yeah, we're going." And I probably would have actually gone to school overseas or something, but I chickened out. And but I do love my school. I went to I did I studied at Bay State College for a year, and then I transferred over to UMass Boston and did the remainder of my college career there, and got a BA in economics, and I minored in public policy and political science.
Well, how'd you like studying that?
I loved it. So it's funny because initially when I first of all, I'm like first generation grad, so I had no idea what I was doing, and I was always a high performing student, I mean, there was like a certain lull, but we'll get to that point. We'll talk about that later. Once I went to college, I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it work. And I knew I wanted to do something business related, but I wasn't 100% sure. But I changed my major like a bunch of different times. At first, I thought, okay, well, I'll do general business, but I'll also do English. I'll also study music. I'll also study. It switched so many times, and then I thought, okay, finance, marketing, and then eventually, when I started taking the economics courses, I said, okay, no, 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 this is the sweet spot. This is good. This is interesting to me. It's helped me to understand, a lot of different elements of how our economy operates, how the market works, and it's information that's transferable no matter the practice that I get into. At the time, I wanted to get into real estate investment and development, which I still do at some point, but that was my main focus. So I figured, okay, learn about the economics and then learn about the political side of things. So it's like, what are the resources and who gets what and why? Especially to understand disparities and wealth income and wealth disparities and inequality and the distribution of housing and things like that. So that was my focus for a while, and then yeah, so that's how I got into that field of study.
Nice. So when you graduated, did you have an idea of where you wanted to go with that?
I did. So when I graduated, it was like right around the time when the economy had tanked a bit because we had that huge financial crisis and the real estate economy was just a mess. And I wasn't 100% sure how I was going to dive into it. So I, wasn't really sure what to do after that. And so it took some time for me to find my way. So eventually I worked with a recruiter and got into an insurance company and worked there for about 5 years.
How'd you like that? How was that?
There's pluses and minuses. So I was getting, the pay was great. I had a great manager who felt more like a mentor. It was balance that I'd been looking for as far as someone who was willing to work with the people on her team and, coach people and have open and honest communication, but have high standards. And I got promoted after a year to senior quote associate. I mean, like the name kind of changed a couple times, but I ended up getting promoted after a year and was doing really well. And I was also doing a lot of like the extracurricular things on the campus and working across the different locations. So I was the chair of one of their affinity groups. And so I was like the communication chair. So I was doing that. I was, doing a lot of networking with other people in different departments, and so it was great. I was learning a lot, I was achieving a lot, but I soon had, I mean, well, not soon, but like I wasn't 100% happy because I'm a creative and I didn't feel fulfilled, like something was missing. And then there were so many other things that I realized I was struggling with, just as far as like, dealing with my mental health and stress, and like there were a lot of traumas and things I'd never had the chance to stop and breathe and take care of. And so all the work that had built up, even no matter how well I did, like that stress just kind of like caved in. And so the more work I had on my plate after a while, the more overwhelmed I got and realized this is not for me. So eventually I had to leave because I was getting to the point where I was so stressed out from, work and everything else, even in my home life, that I was getting physically sick. So it was a great experience and I appreciate, what I learned there and what the great people that I met, but it wasn't for me. Like I couldn't see myself, doing that for a long time. I thought, getting into it, I thought, okay, I'll do a year and then I'll, figure out what it is that I really want to do. And 1 year turned into 5. And I was like, okay, I gotta do something. I was even doing a like part-time travel agency, like as an independent contractor on the side because I love travel and I wanted to do something that allowed me to work, be my own boss in a way, but also work from anywhere and also help people and use my creative skills and marketing and things like that. So I was doing things like that on the side too. And eventually I just said like, this is killing my spirit. I feel like I can't do this anymore. So I had to leave.
Yeah, I can understand that. So was the job itself, even though you were really good at it, was it just one of those naturally stress-inducing roles? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say it is. I mean, okay, so for one, I realized that it didn't work with my learning style and things like that. I pretty much forced myself to adapt very early to it. And there were, I was able to figure things out along the way and make it work for what I, make it work and be successful. But I got to a point where I realized that the expectations were starting to get higher. There was a merger that happened, the teams got bigger. I remember one point, there was this one really difficult point in time. It was like the fourth quarter of the fourth quarter was always like go time. That was like the peak. And we had one where, I ended up having to take on a much higher, management role. So I was managing more of the inventory, more of the team, but I didn't have actual um, people management authority. So I could help to distribute the inventory and things like that, but I couldn't tell people what to do. And because we kind of lacked proper, full support of management and things like that, I think the morale fell. But then also there were a lot of other things that happened where it's like, oh, we were understaffed. We were getting a lot of work. We were understaffed, and I had to, just kind of help pull the team together and keep everything going. We had like a 24-hour turnaround, and they had high expectations for the quality of the work that we were putting out, and things were being, uh, QC'd, and so we had to. There was just a lot, so I had to do my work, make sure everybody was doing theirs, make sure we were meeting expectations, make sure everything was in range, helping to keep the team morale up. And by the end of it, I was exhausted. That's right around the time where like the physical symptoms started to kick in, like of my body just telling me this is not okay. You're working 10 extra hours a week. You're you need to slow down, you need to stop. And it was like that triggered a lot of other things that was just like a downhill spiral. So I would say over the next couple of years it was like a lot harder. And then the more systems we had to train on, the more I had to train more people and manage people in different sites, and then also maintain my own expectations. Mind you, I was also doing the work on the affinity groups, which I love, but it was a lot at the same time. And that overachiever kicked in, but not taking full care of
Mm.
myself and really addressing the things that were going wrong and hurting and my mental wellness and everything else. I emotionally, I was like, all right, I can't do this. I'm too stressed out. I'm tapped. I'm calling it quits. And I don't like to quit anything, but I said, okay,
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore.
Do you remember the day where you're like, do you remember that day when you were like, I'm done. I'm turning it in, resigning now.
You know what? It wasn't even a day. Well, put it this way. There was one day I was at my desk and I was working, and I remember actual tears coming down my face. I didn't know I should be. It was the type of thing where I was focused. I was just doing my work, but I started crying. And I was like, why am I crying? Well, something is wrong because I'm not like bawling, but tears are coming down my face. Like this is a stress reaction right now. Like my body is trying to tell me something's wrong. And I remember going home early that day, and realizing like, okay, I need to take like a wellness break. So I, took a few months off, and I said, okay, I took care of my wellness and all of that, and did the work. And I said, okay, I'm gonna try this again. I'm gonna go back to work. I've developed some more tools to manage the stress and deal with some other things that I hadn't really, dealt with as thoroughly as I thought I did before, and came back, and within a couple months I was right back out. And that day was a little bit more intense because I was really I felt like I'd failed myself. Again, I felt like I'd failed. I did something wrong. Like, but what it was is like your mental health, like that affects everything. And I was just under so much pressure. And it was like, you try to stuff a bunch of things in a closet, and then eventually the door just breaks and everything falls out. Like you can't just pretend those things aren't there. So I just, I remember that day, like I emailed my manager and said, listen, I have to go home early again. I can't do this. And I remember going into an office, or like this phone booth that they had there, where you can like make a call if you need like privacy. Because I worked on the sales floor, and I remember going in there and putting my head down and crying so hard. And my sister had worked with me at the time, and I had a friend that was there, was really supportive at the time, and they both came down and talked to me, and I'm like bawling like a baby. And then I'm like, well, I messed up. Like, how am I not doing well anymore? Like, I took time off, and I did all that, and it just was not. It just was. I realized that day, like, okay, I don't think I can do this again. I don't think I can come back. So over time, like I tried to see how I tried to do another, couple of months of like figuring it out, but in that wellness process, I was like, no, this isn't going to work. Like, you're not like, why are you lying to yourself? You weren't supposed to stay here this long in the first place. This isn't for you. Like, it doesn't work with, you or what you need. Like, you really, you're done here. And then I think we mutually, between my workplace and myself, we thought like, nah, this ain't gonna work. It's just not it. So we split amicably, but I felt really free. I remember the last day I went to the office and picked up my stuff, and I just felt this weight off my shoulders. Like, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm leaving. Like, I'm leaving the way that I told myself I would leave before, and I'm gonna go out. I don't know what I'm gonna do after this, but I'm gonna do something. And all right, I'm taking care of me. This I felt relieved. Like I felt like I was leaving prison. I felt like I'd been let out. The sun felt different that day. So it was. I would say that's like the moment where I said, "All right, this is over. This is done."
Yeah, I respect that. And I feel like there are so many people who, I mean, I felt like that before. I've cried at home. I mean, 2020 was rough. 2019 was rough, and there are times where you're just like so frustrated that you hit that wall. And I think people are just so scared to be open about it. And to say, "Nah, this is literally killing me. It's killing everything about me." And it's okay to be like, "Yo, I'm out." So I respect that. I respect, and I that feeling you had when you walked out. Like, I wish I could package that and sell that. Like, like, yo, this is my last day. I'll see y'all later. That it's like great. So, all right, you got out. You're out of prison now. What you're working on now, which we're gonna get into, was that the first thing you wanted to do as soon as you got out of that job? Did that take some time to figure out?
No. So when I was on one of my mental health breaks, I thought, okay, what can I possibly do to do something. I'm trying to find a spark of inspiration, like even if it's something that I can take and transfer into the role that I had that I was taking a break from. It's like, what can I do even if it's on the side? So I ended up going to Prague for a month and did a TEFL training, so teaching English as a foreign language. So I did that for a month. Even that I struggled with, because I realized, like, this is hard. Like I was dealing with so I actually was diagnosed with ADHD. So I realized, like, okay, I need to find out what works for me, creatively, and my work processes. So I was able to try something different. I did well there, but I still in certain things struggled with that. And so I said, okay, well, this seems like something that's different. I could travel and teach. I do like to teach, and I do like playing around with language and English, and I was always really good at that. So I said, oh, this will be good. But it didn't really work out, because at the time there was like, Prague was very popular, so the apartment situation was not that great. And I said, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna go home, finish selling all my stuff, and then I'm gonna come back. But then another opportunity came up for me to help run a hostel in Puerto Rico, and I said, okay, well, you know what? I can still teach somewhere else at a certain point, but let's see what's happening in Puerto Rico. It's still stateside. I can get to family in 5 or 6 hours, or however long it takes. I'll be fine. Then Irma happened. So I literally spent 3 days in Puerto Rico, and I had to come right back. And so then I said, all right, well, what am I doing now? And so I took a few months to figure things out again, and then I came across a web development boot camp. So I did that through the Urban League, the MCMO program in the Swahili for Code. So I did that for 9 months full, 8 or 9 months full time. And I said, okay, I'll do web development. But like right at the end of that, I thought linked up with a business coach, and she helped me to navigate the e-commerce space. She was doing like a coaching session, like a group coaching session for women. And so I sat in on it, but I also did like some one-on-one coaching with her, because I thought, I could start a business. Like I could, this, I'm not beholden to anything right now. Like I could go strike out, do something on my own. And I'd always wanted to own a business. So I figured, now's the best time. You're not working, you're trying to figure it out. Like, do it now. You have the focus for it. And I always wanted to. So I said, okay, great. But the idea for Satin Kiss, I came up with that in like 2017. So I had it, but I was like, this isn't the right time. But 2018, like at the end of that web development course, when I had some tools for online, coding and things like that, I said, well, what the hell? I could do it now. Why not? So I said I could bring that idea to life. This would allow me to work from wherever. I can help people no matter where I am, and I could finally have my own thing, my own baby. And so I hit the ground running from there, and I launched officially like 6 months later. Like 6 months later, something like 4 or 5 months later, whatever that was, between September and February. Launched, started tinkering and then launched in February officially.
So, all right. So, can you explain to the folks what Satin Kiss
hmm
is?
Well, Satin Kiss is it's I help essentially what I how I explain it to people is I help people lead healthy, happy sex lives. So Satin Kiss is an elevated shopping and education experience where I focus on quality, body safety, and diversity and empowerment. And so it's an entire lifestyle brand. So I have an online store where I sell body safe sexual health and pleasure products. I also do one-on-one and couples coaching and consulting, workshops, and product discovery parties, or people would think of them as toy parties, but I try to get a little bit more in depth. We have fun. Like I do co-ed parties. You can be all women, it can be all men. But it's like instead of just showing up with whatever I feel like showing up with, it's like no, no, no. I ask people in advance, like, what do you want to talk about? What products are you interested in? Like, what do you want to know? Like, I'll cater it to your experiences and your questions, and we come together and we talk and we laugh and we relate and we ask all the questions, and there's no such thing as TMI or anything that's you know there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's like, no, we're gonna talk like friends here, okay? We're gonna talk about all of it, and I definitely welcome people from the LGBTQIA community, people that are differently abled. I started the business because I noticed that there were so many people not being served in the sexual health and retail spaces that already exist. Um, and I started with myself. Like I did the work to dismantle internal shame and stigma around sex, and found myself naturally helping other people. So I found that I was good at it, and I figured, okay, well, I have something here. But I noticed also that for people of color and women, especially Black women and Latina and whomever, it's way harder to talk about sexuality because there's so many layers. You have colonization and how we're able to reclaim our bodies and what does that mean for us in the overall conversation of sex. How often are we fetishized? What does that look like? And do we feel comfortable enough to have these conversations, layering religion and everything else? And we're suffering because of it. And I wanted to make sure that we had access to someone who they can talk to and the resources and the education, but then also the products that weren't going to poison them, because a lot of the products on the market right now are poisonous and the retailers are not going to tell you. They're just going to give you a discount code and tell you have at it. And they also they don't represent a large amount of people that are shopping with them. For example, if you look at their products, anything that's flesh tone, it's like labeled nude and it's all pale, like Caucasian. It's like, really? Like, but everybody doesn't look like that nude. I don't look like that nude. And when they show anything, when they do sell anything that's, marketed as a person of color, anything that's flesh tone, it'll have some problematic marketing or labels or something on it that's alienating and fetishizing and all kinds of problematic tropes. And I'm like, okay, why not just create something where we've eliminated all of the toxic products, we include a range of things that are flesh tone. We include a range of things that represent different styles and sexual taste and sexual and gender identity, so everybody can be served and not have to figure it out. They can get not only products but also the services and have somebody to actually walk them through the process if they're new. But in general, helping to dismantle, the shame and the stigma around sexuality in general.
There's so many questions
Oh,
I have
please
to
go
ask
for it.
you. Is I have I don't know if any of this is true, but are white people sexually more adventurous than anyone else?
I wouldn't say that they're naturally more sexually adventurous. I would say that they're given the privilege of not having to be bound by any of the other stigmas or difficulties that we would have in approaching sexuality. So the sexual health outcomes that we have in general, like we're not often given the same kind of sexual health courses and classes and access to things like that. We are often given, I mean, if you think about it, if you go back to let's talk about, black people in America. Our ancestors were fine with their sexuality. They were like, okay, like it's part of life. It is what it is. Nudity wasn't an issue, but when we were stolen and colonized, nudity was, oh, that's what those over sexualized savages are doing. Because they're nude, they must be ready to have that we can lust for that. And because we own them now, we can do whatever we want with their bodies, and we can label them. We can decide what to do with their bodies. We can breed them with each other and forget about their humanity if they even thought about us as human in the first place. But our how we defined our sexuality was stolen from us and co-opted and turned into something that we couldn't control. And it's these generations now where we're starting to take that back. So where they don't have that barrier, or they don't have that one stumbling block of someone even to this day fetishizing them, or deciding for them, oh well, you having a big ass, that means that you must be virile, you must be, the sexual goddess. And you just like, oh yeah, like just all the stereotypes of, oh yeah, those black women, they're just, so naturally sexual and ready to have sex with anyone. And Latinas, they're so spicy, and they're so, it's just like, really, we didn't create these stereotypes for ourselves. We were given these labels. We were sexualized by the people who oppressed us, and we're just now getting out of that. And then you add on top of that the religious aspect, where sex is automatically like this puritanical religious aspect to everything, where sex is considered this horrible, evil, dirty thing. You add that to the mix of people who clung to religion as a way of finding hope when there was no hope. You have a recipe for disaster. So because people of color, unfortunately, like, religion was beaten into our heads in a way that, wasn't healthy, then the sexuality just kind of like flows into that too. It's a lot harder. So we're out here, in the kink community too. We're just not often, we don't feel like we're welcome, or, we don't feel like we have the space to be there. There's so many times I'll go to like a munch or a play party, and it looks like a chocolate chip cookie. And I'm like, I know for a fact there are more of us that are into this. And so I try to find people and bring them in and teach them. But even, and another thing too, once we actually get there, navigating that is tricky, because I've had a great time. I know how to advocate for myself and navigate these situations. But you walk into a play party, for example, as a black man, and a bunch of heads turn, and the first thing they want to know is how big your penis is. And it's like, really? Hi, I'm a person. You can have a conversation with me. And it's like, oh, the giant black penis has walked into the room. I have to have that one. I want to conquer that one. I have to have and claim that one. It's unfortunate. So we have to walk into these spaces uncomfortable half the time, and they don't have that. They have the privilege of just being who they are and not having to navigate the gaze of other people and the fetish and all these other layers of things that are much more complicated. But trust me, we're out here doing all the things.
Me personally, I'll log into a Pornhub X videos, and I'm like, okay, here's my line.
Right.
I'm not doing that. And I'm not saying we should not do things or do, but I always was like, are they the only people thinking of this crazy stuff? Like, is it just because that's them, and I'm over here just like, no, I'm regular stuff, man. But you make a good point. It's like a lot of it is conditioning. A lot of it is us going, no, that's not the stuff we do, which is, norms that we create over a while. But in reality, everyone should be
Mhm.
doing everything. Everyone should feel comfortable be doing whatever they want to. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a while. I remember, not remember, but there's this whole, especially in the black community, where we're very tough on gay
Mhm.
acceptance, right? And things like that, right? And I'm watching a commercial. I think it was for medication for
Mhm.
people who have HIV. And it was a primarily black commercial. And then people are like, oh, that's an agenda. They're trying to show that, like, yeah, the whole agenda, push the black gay man, push the black gay man. And I'm thinking, like, wait a second, though. There's probably just a group of gay black dudes who are like, "Can we be in the gay commercials? It doesn't have to be
Yeah,
all gay white dudes." You know what I mean? Like, there's a you know what I mean? There's another whole subset of people that are like, "No, I kinda
yeah,
been here the whole time." You know? You just didn't know I existed. So when it comes to these talks about sex, it's interesting. There are so many things where like, "Nah, we'll exist in this bubble. We don't
yeah.
go outside this bubble." Like, we'll never go out, and we don't know why. We're just like,
Yeah,
"Nah, we're not gonna do
it's a
it."
matter of safety too, because like we really had the luxury of it's like our existence in I'll just say America. I'll just focus on that because it's different in different places, but America's colonization and racism is a different. It's its own delicious breed. So you look at this, so you bring up black men and the LGBTQ community. There's this whole struggle for identity of masculinity. Like a lot of black men, that's one of the first thing that they did was try to find any way to take away the masculinity and the humanity of black men. It's like, okay, well, you strike down the protectors and all right, we're good. Who's really going to fight back now? So a lot of black men will hold tight to what that masculinity means. So anything that is different from that or strays from what is traditionally considered, the ruling patriarchy archetype, then it's just gonna be discomfort in that. But outside of that, for black people, it's like we have been fighting for basic rights for so long. Our sexual rights and our sexual health, that ends up a lot of things like that we get to enjoy, those get turned into luxuries. And then we don't really listen to those things, like, or we don't indulge in those things anymore, or as much as we should, because you're busy trying to get from one day to the next with your sanity with all the things that are happening around you. You're I'm pretty sure that our elders and ancestors, like, they didn't have a ton of time to really think about pleasure because survival and try not to die today, and try to deal with the trauma and everything else. So I think now we're at a point in time where we're, especially as people of color and black people in particular, we're going through this revolutionary time where self-care is being prioritized, where we're saying no, 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 we are allowed to have time to focus on our wellness, and sex is part of that wellness. What does that mean for us? What does that look like for us? It's okay to feel pleasure. It's okay to explore pleasure in different ways and not judge ourselves for it. And now that whole black people do and black people don't, we're starting to question that more. We're starting to push back against it, which I am all for. It's like that's one of the series that I started to do on Instagram of like black people do BDSM, black people do X, Y, and Z. Like we do all of these things. We cannot allow society to tell us what we can and can't do, and we can't limit each other and say, yeah, this is a different day and time. Like, yes, there are still real and present dangers out there, but we have enough power to push back against them. We don't have to stay in this bubble that society created for us that we're continuing to reinforce. We don't have to. It's fine. We can we can explore, like do those things. Like you have autonomy. Like you can explore all the things. It's up to you, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We want all of the nastiness.
Hmm.
Let's all of it. I like this. I like this energy. Question. So when you decided to, and you nicely gave a list of things that you offer. What'd you start with? Did you start with? Actually, no. How'd you get to the point of having products? Like, what is? How do you even get to that point where you can get them, put them online, sell them? What is
Okay.
that journey
So
like?
the products that I sell are all curated from different brands that are already existing in the marketplace. So I went through and curated a bunch of different items through my distributor and said, like, okay, here I wanted to have something where everything on the site was quality, and of course the body safety aspect too. And so I said, all right, let me look and see what in the marketplace right now is actually doing well. What do people like? What are people asking about? What's the most interesting? What do people really need? And thinking about a lot of the interests and kinks and sexual needs and things like that. Even everything down to things like dilators. If a woman is looking to experience, like, let's say if she's experiencing uh, pain with sexuality and has to get used to experiencing a larger partner or just getting more comfortable with her pelvic floor. There are different things like that. There are Kegel devices, there are massage oils, and just a range of things, even toy cleaners and storage. So I wanted to make sure that the products that were on the site met the needs of a person in every aspect. So it's not just, okay, everything's gonna be a vibrator or a dildo. It's like, no, we're gonna look at if you wanted to get into anal play, you're gonna have a shower douche installed in a douche nozzle thing. You can have like the bulb, and I'm gonna teach you how to use it. Like that's really how I decided to pick and choose like what would actually go on the website. So we have like pretty much something for everybody at this point.
Now, when you because of all the stigmas out there, how is it tough getting those? Like, how do you find those customers? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I'm selling food or whatever may have you, video games, I can just okay, these are the niches for people here. Is it? Do you think it's somewhat harder with the products you offer, the services you offer, for to find those customers because people may feel a certain way about
Hmm.
something, or you
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean?
Um. So I would say it's a little tricky finding the marketplace, but I pretty much do it by any means necessary. So organically, just with optimizing the presence of the website online, and putting the business in a lot of directories where my customers would be. So, for one, just being unafraid to be like, yeah, adult novelty and wellness, absolutely. Like, I'm gonna say it without any fear and hair. I'm gonna put this in this directory and not bat an eye. But social media presence, be doing in-person marketplaces whenever that happens now because quarantines, etc. So I would just get out there and talk to people, and I would put the items out there. I wouldn't put anything on the table that is like obviously like phallic or flesh tone usually. But what I do is put like a range of different products for people to see and ask questions because oftentimes people see them online, they don't really get to um, explore them. But I go out there and I talk to people and I ask them what their thoughts are and I gauge the audience. Like when people come to my table, first of all, they don't know what they're walking up on, and you have so it's split three ways. They'll see the table and think, "Oh, I'm curious, what is that?" And then they get there and they go, "Oh, okay, well, I want to know more." Then you have the ones that are like, "Ooh, I know exactly what that is," and beeline it, and they're like directly to the table, and it's like, "Yay, great! I want to know more." Then you have the ones that are like, they figure out what it is, and they're terrified, and they're just like, "I'm out of here. I can't." So I'm like, "All right." In any case, I try to engage people one on one and let them know this is it's I humanize it. I give it a an empathetic voice, and let people know that these we're having a normal human conversation here. Like, I'm not going to make you use them right now in front of people. So just letting people know that what however they feel, it's okay. Like there's a path through whether you're excited or you're nervous, there's support for that, there's space for that. Um and just continuing to differentiate from the other brands. I can't advertise on social media because ugh, their censorship rules. So I can have a presence, but I can't use ad dollars. So I get creative in other ways. So I'll do IG lives and events and pop ups and well, just basically what however I can do it, I'll do it. Um, but it's really I found like the most useful is just the human connection, just having a one-on-one conversation with people, or having a conversation like I'm having with you right now, where other people get to hear it and see like, oh, it's not that bad. You don't have to be this type of person to buy a sex toy. You don't have to be considered lonely. You don't have to be um considered freaky. You don't have to you could use it with your partner, or you could not. It's fine, but in any case, it's totally normal. It's fine. um so that's the primary way that I try to get the word out, because it is tough with market share and companies like who won't be named who have like the ad dollars to like be on every like major platform. So I try to, get the word out to as many people as possible.
It's crazy when you think about social media and how we view sex as opposed to something like murder. Like, I can see people get beat up and down on various social networks. Literally, you can
Mhm.
see people die easily on a Twitter, but it's weird. Sex is the last bastion. It's like I feel like swearing on TV and sex. We are so weird about it. And I've
Mhm.
traveled to like Europe.
Oh yeah.
So different. They don't. It's not a big deal. Like British shows or French, especially like the French. They're like whatever. They're way past it. But like for some weird reason, the American market for sex is it's still super taboo.
Yeah,
It's
like
crazy.
it's in America, sex is like it's everywhere, but don't talk about it, or at least don't talk about it in a healthy way. It's like you can
Yeah,
sexualize
exactly.
somebody, you can hypersexualize something, but it's like, oh, is it really sexual? It's like, no, that's blatantly sexual. But okay, I if you want to deny it, cool. But it's like it's in your face all the time, but don't say anything about it and don't pursue it in a safe way. And how dare we educate our children about it in healthy ways? And it's just a hot mess. And I am just hoping to spark or help to spark the revolution where it's not abnormal. It's not weird to talk about these things because it is just sex. I mean, yes, it's an intimate thing. It's I'm not going to downplay the importance of it or how the role that it plays in our lives, but people make it this giant terrifying monster of a thing, and it's like, but it's part of our bodies. We produce chemicals to tell us to do it. Like it's the same thing as eating and sleeping and everything else. Like what why are we making it into such a huge problem? So I would hope within the next generation or two that it's not going to be that serious. The same way we're like in the 17, 1800s, if you showed somebody your wrist or your ankle, you were scandalous. Now it's like, okay, we wear bikinis. So what? Like, hopefully we get to a point where sex is seen as the same way. It's like, yeah, so what? Yeah, my kids know where babies come from. So what? Like they know how they got here. They know what a
Yeah,
penis is.
yeah.
They're not gonna go do it because they're educated enough to know, you have to be ready for these things. But they know what it is and they know that it's okay and they're not ashamed of masturbation and they're not ashamed of pleasure or they're not having unwanted outcomes because they're doing things that they're not educated about. I think like I said, this next generation coming up, they're more open. So I think, after a while, we're going to be fine. But right now, it's a hot mess.
So, yeah, I mean, hopefully we do get here. It's going to take a little bit, but I do agree. We just have to keep pushing forward. Um, so I remember you were talking about just how you felt when you left your job, and emotionally where that left you. How are your days now? Now that you're working on this, how different is it?
Very different. So before the quarantine, I ended up getting like a part-time like office management role, and it was great because it allowed me to work on my business while I was at work, and they knew like I talked to them about it ahead of time, and they were like, hey, you can work on that stuff. And I was like, all right, fine. So when that went away, it was like, oh crap, my sense of structure is gone. What am I doing? What is life? So I over the last year, I've found balance. I first of all just redecorated my whole space to feel more at home and to create the kind set myself up for success basically. Um so my days are pretty much filled with focusing on this. I made sure that I kept 9 to 5 hours because I was starting to get burned out. I was from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep, it was everything Satin Kiss, which it's what I do. So, but I had to put that boundary there and say like, okay, you will not be working on this at 11 p.m. You will be doing something else like sleep or something that you actually that's not work related. So I had to learn to regulate my schedule a little bit more and figure out where I'm going to put my workout times and making sure that I was eating at different times and not hyper focusing on the work that I do. Um, and making time for connecting with friends and things because it can be very isolating as an entrepreneur. But then I'm a very social, very outgoing, but very solitary person. So I had to learn to reach out to my circle of people on a regular basis. So I'll reach out to my girlfriends in the WhatsApp group chat, and I'll um I'll go and visit family on the other side of town and stay with them and quarantine with them for like a couple of weeks just to have somebody else around and break the monotony. But just also working on finding different projects to work on. So I got accepted into the E for All Business Accelerator program. So that also took up a lot of my focus for the last few months. So finding different projects and things to work on that include my business, but also allow me to have work life balance. That's pretty much how I've been able to navigate everything and indulging in the things that bring me joy.
Well, that sounds awesome, and it's great to hear that that balance was found, and you just hear it. You hear it in your voice, and that's what I feel like most people are striving for. Like it's not normal. It doesn't. You don't have to suck it up. Like a lot of this stuff, I feel like this interview is all about breaking norms that just exist for
Hmm.
no reason. Be it work, sex. It's okay to question things and to just feel a certain way. Like
Hmm.
it's okay to step away. It's okay to have certain conversations. I feel like it's just been beaten into our brains to just take things how they are. It's so hard to look out for yourself. So I'm so happy that you're in a space now where you're growing. You're talking about something that needs to be talked about for so many people. And I appreciate the focus on people of color, man, because as you stated, there's so many historical things that we're not even aware how they affect us. Like we both grew up in Boston.
Hmm.
That affects us. You know, that was a hell of a city
Yeah.
to grow up in, man. And it's like, yeah, we gotta we gotta figure this out. So I appreciate it. I really appreciate your insight on that. At this point, I would like you to share any information on where people can find you, how we can purchase, anything you'd like to promote now. I'm happy to have on this
Great.
podcast.
Okay, so the website is satinkiss.me. And so you can reach out through, if you wanted to talk to me directly, you can reach out through email. So it's contact at satinkiss.me. I'm on Instagram, satinkiss.me, Twitter, satinkissme, Facebook. There's also a YouTube channel. So I ended up creating like a unique one because it was just long and ridiculous. So if you go to tinyurl.com/satinkisstube, that's the YouTube channel. Um, so yeah, you can on any of those platforms, it's going to be myself answering any questions. So privacy is respected at all times. There's no such thing as a stupid question or TMI. Happy to help people. You can sign up for your free 15-minute consultation for whether it's a one-on-one or a couples consultation if you want to get assistance shopping on the website or finding different practices and products that work for your lifestyle. That's you're welcome to sign up there on the services page. And again, my name is Taja. I'm the owner, and you can reach out on all those channels, and I'll be happy to help you directly.
Naja, this is great. That is awesome. This is a cool conversation. And everyone out there, I know you have questions because I have like 1,000 more. So I'll be sure to be reaching out. I really appreciate your time here. I wish you nothing but the best. If there's anything the Moonlighters Club can help you do, we will do it. So I think it'd be cool. So yeah, everyone listening, feel free to tell a friend about this. Please tell a friend. Rate and review our episodes. That helps us be found. Only thing I'll direct you to the Moonlighters Club website, moonlightersclub.com. We're just going to make sure that every person that we interview, we place them on our website. There's a way for you to find them, find their businesses, learn more about them. So that is a project that I'm working on right now, other than just interviewing and recording. So thank you all for your time. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it all. And until next time, have a good one.